you cannot control that which must not be controlled. We, as narcissists, have been created, designed, engineered, fabricated, call it what you will, to achieve the prime aims: control, fuel, character traits, and residual benefits. And we will achieve them. If not from you, from others. And we will always, repeat, always manage to assert control from our perspective through the 3 assertions of control, which I have mentioned on other occasions. We always get that control one way or the other, and you are not allowed to achieve control over us. It is in effect mutually exclusive. If you try and get control over us, it won't happen. And we are duty-bound, because of our narcissism, to respond in a particular way to get control over you by utilising the 3 assertions of control. And this happens unconsciously where lesser or mid-range narcissists, and consciously where greater narcissists or the ultra. And it is a common mistake that is made to think that you can control us. You can't. You're not allowed to. And this isn't me being grandiose about saying, oh, look at us, Charlie Big Bananas, you can't control us. It is an actuality. Because the way that we assert that control over you varies in differing ways, and it's based on our perspective. You would look at the situation and think, he hasn't actually got control of me. That doesn't matter. It's how we perceive it. We will always respond in a way where we see a threat through our lens that you are affecting our control, either consciously or unconsciously, and we must respond to it through one of the 3 assertions of control and working our way through them if necessary to get that control. And all of that means is we will ultimately get control in some form over you from our perspective, therefore meaning you never get it over us. If you think that you can control us, it is either because you don't understand narcissism, which is fair enough, that's why you're here, to learn, and your emotional thinking making you think that you can somehow control us. Your emotional thinking does that to you. Why? Because if you think that you can control us, what will you do? You'll spend time with us. You'll talk to us. You will try and persuade, cajole, threaten. And that means you're feeding the addiction. You've been conned by your emotional thinking into engaging with us in the pursuit of the unobtainable. Your emotional thinking doesn't care. All it wants you to do is ensure that you're interacting with us, that you're feeding the addiction. And so if you come and talk to us in order to try and make us do something, i.e. control us, your emotional thinking will quite happily pick up that ball and run with it. It will want you trying to do it. It will mislead you into believing that you can achieve it. And of course, you may not necessarily see it as control. You might think it as just being reasonable, being civil, doing the right thing, being fair, a proper outcome. But to us, you are attempting to control us. Because if you're in the 2nd or 3rd interaction with the narcissist, as explained in 3 interactions with the narcissist, you will threaten our control. So, many people think, I can control the narcissist, or at least get them to do what I want, or I want this to happen, how can I do that? And believe that you can somehow cause control to be asserted over us by what you do. And you can't. And you are misled into believing that as a consequence of not understanding narcissism and your emotional thinking. There is another group that believes that they can control us, and those are unaware narcissists. The lesser and mid-range narcissists that don't know what they are think that they can control the identified narcissists. And indeed, the people that they're talking about are actually genuine victims. And I see this fairly regularly with the sort of macho posing comments that come my way. Hell, I kicked the narcissist's ass and I made him do this and I made him do that. Well, either you're an empath that's mistaken about the outcome, or you may well be a narcissist that believes that's the case, because an empath wouldn't necessarily speak in such terms unless you're badly affected by emotional thinking. Most empaths realise, Stay away from the narcissist. You can't change the outcome. You don't want to have anything to do with them. You don't go to war with them. You don't try and threaten them. You apply the principle of go so. You get out and you stay out. And it's the ones that give it the big un, the ones that give it all of the bravado, etc., that often are giving it away as demonstrating they're actually narcissists but don't realise it. The ones that think that they can control the narcissist and are absolutely adamant that they've achieved it. And it'll be interesting to see how many crop up on this video as well. When it comes to dealing with us, you feel like you're trying to deal with an opponent that always seems to be one step ahead. It's like trying to tie down a vapour or stop the tide from advancing and engulfing your sandcastle, or catching an elusive will-o'-the-wisp. No matter what you do, we always seem to have a way of squirming free, walking away, carrying on as normal. It's like trying to fight a battle with a rusty and a nicked sword, and one hand tied behind your back. It's akin to those dreams where you try and run but find you can't move. You try to scream, but no sound comes from your throat. Every move you make appears to have been anticipated. You play a full house in poker, and I produce a royal flush. But where did that extra king appear from? We always have something up our sleeves. You're chasing the end of the rainbow, but it just keeps shifting a little bit further away. You're getting nearer, closing in on your goal, and then it moves again. You think you've mastered the rules, and then we introduce a new one which suits our purposes. All of those things are us responding to the threat that you are causing to our control. So, last week, we complimented the steak pie that you made. Our praise was effusive. And that was done as a benign manipulation by way of complimenting you. For you, it was a delightful hiatus in the otherwise unpleasant treatment you had been receiving. And therefore, that was a winning hand, wasn't it? You made a steak pie, we enjoyed it. Why not capitalise on that win by doing it again? So you do. And you proudly place a new steak pie in the centre of the table, only to be met with a sigh and a roll of the eyes. What's the matter, you asked? You loved the steak pie I made last week. I don't want to eat steak pie, say we. Why? What's wrong? Why must there always be something wrong? I don't want steak pie, but you did last week. That was then and this is now. Cue scathing put-downs, possibly storming from the table, leaving you bewildered and upset. You don't make steak pie, again because of this reaction. Only the following week, this happens. What's happened to the steak pie? Why have you stopped making it when you know it's my favourite? I can hear the groans around the globe at that behaviour. You dress up to the nines, you get called slutty. You dress down, and you're upbraided for not putting the effort in. You try to cuddle us in the night, and an elbow is jabbed into your chest because you're making us too hot. 2 hours later, we wake you up and ask you why you've stopped hugging us. We tell you that we will in by 7 and then appear at 9. You are forbidden from questioning us about this. You are not entitled to do so. We do as we please. You buy an expensive gift for our birthday, and you are told that it is not as good as last year's gift. The following year, then, you really push the boat out to be told you've spent too much and we just wanted something simple. You redecorate and select a rich chocolate brown. We declare it to be the wrong shade and point to a colour that looks no different to the one that you chose. We will not let the matter rest until you've changed it. Once applied, it appears the same. We declare we want to go out for dinner and you get ready, only for us to decide that we'd rather stay in and watch sport. Whatever you do, it always seems to be wrong, never correct, not good enough, and an erroneous choice. No matter how many times you ask what we want, you still somehow make the wrong choice. You suggest that we do it ourselves, and you are accused then of not caring. You confirm you will deal with it, and you are therefore a control freak and will not allow us to breathe on our own. Whatever you decide to do or say, we will find a way of twisting it around so it suits us, and this is all because either you're painted black, therefore everything that you do is seen through that lens of black and therefore has to be criticised, put down, belittled, denigrated, or the act itself threatens our control, meaning we respond in the manner as described. Our logic seems entirely warped to you, but in our world it makes perfect sense, because it's the only logic that we adhered to, which means that whatever we say is right, even when we show rank hypocrisy or we contradict ourselves. And remember, the lesser or mid-range narcissist doesn't know that they're contradicting themselves, doesn't know that they're being hypocritical because their narcissism blinds them to it. We are able to reason away every contradiction you point out to us, and if you somehow back the narcissist into a corner, then we will just accuse you of badgering us, change the subject, or we walk away. because from our perspective, we win every single time we have to in order to assert control. We cast you aside, telling you that you have let yourself go and we cannot be with you. You see us the next week, and we are with someone less attractive than you, carrying more weight and who holds down a job less prestigious than yours. You cannot comprehend why we let you go and chose her instead, especially after what we said. You stare open-mouthed and scratch your head. To us, we win again, because we have acquired someone new whose fuel is better than anything you have ever provided, and they are viewed through the lens of white. You're looked at through the lens of black, and you pour out the negative fuel. If we had suddenly appeared with a supermodel, you might have taken a small degree of comfort in thinking that you couldn't compete with this person. But don't let that think that you have secured some kind of small victory. In our minds, this would just mean that we were right to leave you and trade upwards. You catch us in bed with someone else. It's not our fault. If you loved us properly, we would not have to stray. You show us complete love and devotion, and nobody could ever accuse you of selling us short in the bedroom. Yet, we accuse you of having too high a sex drive because you must be getting it elsewhere. If you apply your reason and your logic, especially towards one of our lesser brethren, then they will ignore the force of your words and instead accuse you of trying to belittle and bamboozle them with long words plucked from the dictionary, and why do you always have to patronize them with such words and sentences? Whatever you choose, whatever you decide, whatever you do, it will always be wrong if you're painted black or you're threatening our control, and whatever we do will always be right. Accuse us as much as you like for being twisted, illogical and difficult, and we will be in your face pointing out how you always have to try and get one over on us. Black becomes white and then becomes yellow and becomes green. Nothing makes sense with us, but that's because it makes complete sense to us and not to you. Our approach is to assert control and gather fuel, and that means we can and must do so through any means, even if that doesn't make any sense at all when looked at from your point of view. This warped and stretched approach allows us to achieve our aims. We confuse and bewilder you, we upset and anger you, we control you, and each and every time we know that we have succeeded, either consciously or unconsciously, through the assertion of control. Like the most deluded minister of propaganda, we claim to have defeated you even as your tanks are rolling past us in the background. We see, because of our narcissism, that which is only what we want to see in order to give us what we require. We are impervious to your reason. We will never accept what you tell us because that does not accord with what we set out to achieve and what our narcissism must achieve. Of course, this doesn't stop you trying. You try to defeat us as we replace your arrows with celery sticks and your sword with a stale baguette. We never fight fair. Your frustration, annoyance, and inability to comprehend why we do this is what keeps you bound to us because of the corrupting effect of your emotional thinking. And this allows us to keep on doing that which we must keep on doing, asserting control over you and extracting fuel. You cannot control the uncontrollable. Until you understand this and apply this understanding, you will forever be run ragged and misled by your emotional thinking, posing as logic, but it is flawed logic. This will cause you to end up giving fuel to us and we win. It will result in adverse consequences for you, meaning you lose, therefore we win, because this is a zero-sum game, and you will continue to interact with us thinking that you can control us when you cannot, and this will increase your emotional thinking even further. You lose and we win. The way for you to win is to apply logic. We are designed to reject control. You try, usually inadvertently and unwittingly, to control us. Therein lies the problem. Stop trying to control us because you will never succeed. You win by having nothing to do with us. Do not accept what I tell you time and time again? Go ahead. Build that tower. Build it high with the stones that adhere to your beliefs and principles, from stone that is beautifully cut and polished, that anybody would admire and cherish. But let us see how you build that tower and how it falls, because the sands beneath it constantly shift and alter. Watch that supposed no-contact regime come crashing down because it's built on a terrible foundation. You build your no-contact regime by understanding you don't control us. You stop trying to control us, and that is how you win. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.